गाइस काम नपरे माइक चाहिँ शट डाउन गर न यार, साह्रै किचिङ किचिङ आउँछ। माइक शट डाउन गर न।
सबैलाई इन्भाइट गरिहालौँ न।
सर भोइसै आइरहेको छैन त हजुरको।
You should be able to hear me now.
Yes, sir. Crystal clear.
All right. So in today's session, we're gonna go we're gonna delve in more detail on the emotional intelligence. Okay. And also, we're gonna go over a little bit on reflective writing. Again, we will be touching more on reflective writing towards week 7 or week 8. Okay, because your final assignment is reflective writing. Right. So for now, for assignment 1, you just need to know basic thing about what is reflective writing, because I assume some of you may not have heard about it. Right. Okay.
Honestly, I'm hearing it for the first time.
Okay, that's fine. Understandable. Okay. All right. So it seems like we have sufficient number of students. Okay. So let's start with today's online session. Again, I assume most of you, if not all, have already gone through the lecture that I put up online. Okay. All right, maybe one of you can answer for the whole group, I guess. So occasionally I might ask you guys a question, and I don't want all of you guys to answer at the same time. Okay, just 1 or 2 students can answer it. Right.
Okay, sir.
All right. So I don't think there is a feature here to do any polls. Maybe there is. I'm not familiar with it. So again, I would like to make this session a little bit more interactive than what it would occasionally be. Okay, so I might be asking, I'll be asking a few questions, and you guys can take turn in answering those questions. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So let's start with today's slides. I've prepared a slide for emotional intelligence. Now, this is a little different from your lecture slides, okay? It has a little more, some practical things that you guys can do together, that we can do. All right, so you guys can see the PowerPoint slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so in this, I would like to break down this online session into maybe 2 parts. Okay, so in the first part, we're going to discuss about a few more things about emotional intelligence. Okay, then we'll have some practice on social awareness, and later on social awareness, self-awareness and social awareness. Okay. Then afterwards, we're going to go over what is reflective writing and so on. All right. So that's going to be today's like agenda. Okay. So any question, by the way, before we start?
No, sir.
All right. So there are a few questions that you can ask yourself, okay, to see if you are to see if you have a certain level of emotional intelligence. Again, we all have a certain level of emotional intelligence because we are emotional creatures, right? Okay, so here are a few questions that you that all of you can ask yourself. Okay, so are you able to recognize any emotion that you are experiencing? We normally do, right? Again, but there are some instances in life where we feel something, but we can't really put picture on it, like what we are feeling. You may be feeling sad, but again, you don't know why you're feeling sad. Has anything like that happened to maybe any of you? Okay, so moving forward, okay, there's another question here. Okay, do you effectively manage like emotions without being bogged down, especially in negative emotions? Okay, this can be positive emotions as well, right? So when you get some in the face of success, okay, how do you manage your emotion? Okay, do you get carried away by those positive like gratification, self gratifications, or are you able to keep yourself humble? Okay, even through like success, personal successes. Okay, especially when we talk about negative emotions, that becomes more clear. Okay, when something bad happens in your life, do you get bogged down? Like how long do you get bogged down? Okay, are you able to get yourself up back again? Okay, the resilience part. Okay, that also signifies the level of emotional intelligence within you. Okay, those people who with a low emotional intelligence, okay, they cannot face setbacks. Okay, and they are the people who get who are prone to getting into depression under trying times, right? Okay, next question is, are you self-motivated? Okay, so I assume like since you guys are young, okay, so you might have tried doing something new. It could be, let's say, learning to play a guitar, okay, or some other instruments, or even for those who are physically who wants to be physically fit. You probably you have joined a gym. Okay, so how was the initial phase? Okay, so when you initially started learning something or going to a gym, okay, like did you feel like discouraged? Okay, when you felt the pain, or when you felt like when you, let's say you were learning to play guitar and you couldn't learn the notes and all that. Okay, did that made you feel discouraged, and did you feel like not learning anymore? Okay, or do you feel okay? Do you have a certain level of self motivation within you? Okay, so someone who is emotionally intelligent would have a high level of self motivation within himself or herself, right? That's also one signal how to basically tell yourself if you are emotionally intelligent, or if you're the level of emotional intelligence within you. Okay. The fourth question that you can ask is, how are you with other people? Okay. So do you make friends readily with other people? Okay. Do you get comfortable interacting with new people, especially new people? Okay. So if you have the ease and comfort in dealing with people, then you have a high level of emotional intelligence. Okay. Versus someone who may be kind of like a awkward, don't know how to like react or behave like in situations where you have to interact with many people, right? Or people that you don't know, all right? So these are some of the yardstick or measuring things that you can, like the questions that you can ask yourself to see if you are emotionally intelligent, basically see like the level of emotional intelligence in you, right? So I would like to get some feedback because right now everything is kind of like quiet here. So maybe like one or two students can respond.
Are we talking about me?
All right, anyone like you know, like anyone with, I guess, high level emotional intelligence,
So
I guess.
as you said that negative emotions comes through that depressions, and most of the people's negative emotions come through the tears in their eyes too.
I didn't say like negative emotions come with depression. I've said like those who are not very like high in emotional intelligence, those who have low emotional intelligence, they'll be more prone to getting to depression when faced with, let's say, difficult times. Okay, because they are not able to manage their emotions, right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody
Excuse me,
else?
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So I'm just having a vague concept about how emotional intelligence is connected to effective communication. So can you just give a brief about how emotional intelligence is connected to effective communication?
Okay, so let's look at the last aspect, last question here. Okay, so if you are able to interact effectively with other people, okay, so if you're able to recognize what other people may be feeling, okay, that has to do with empathizing, right? Empathy means being able to feel what other people are feeling. Okay, so if you're able to do that, then it will help you to connect with other people, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in turn,
No.
it will make your communication easier. Let's say somebody is feeling very sad, okay? And if you're not able to recognize that, and if you talk with that person, okay, would you be able to create an effective communication with that person?
No, sir.
No.
It would be kind of difficult, right? Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
a person who is high in emotional intelligence, they will be able to get along with other people easily, okay, and would be able to like have effective communication with pretty much anyone in pretty much in any situation, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Anybody else?
So can emotional intelligence can it be increased over time?
Yes, it is not something like IQ or your personality, right? As I mentioned in the class lecture, it's something that grows as you go through in life, okay? As you face difficulties in life, as you learn to deal with different situations in life, your emotional intelligence grows with you, okay? For example, let's say uh, anybody in here already started working, like have a job or anything, like anyone?
Me.
Okay, so how did you feel during the initial phase when you just started? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So
can you maybe
basically,
like
I was
tell
just
us like what you do? Okay, how like what did
so
you do when you initially started working? Okay, maybe let's start
so
with that.
yeah. So I am a staff in South Africa as a marketing officer, and
Okay.
when I started, I was like, okay, so do I really fit in here? Because I am just a student. I should not be working here. Everybody looks at me as a student only. So maybe I'm not supposed to be a staff. And like there was always this confusion if I did really fit in there or not. So
Okay,
basically,
so
yeah.
yeah, how do you feel now after you've gone through all that? You know, I assume like it's been a while, like several months, a year maybe,
Yeah.
right?
It's been about 6 or 7 months, and I guess I do fit in there, and I'm confident that I'm doing a good job as a staff as well as a student.
So, okay, in terms of like your interaction with other staffs or students in South Korea, do you feel like you have grown a little more mature in terms of your emotional aspect? Like you feel
Yeah,
easy now?
yeah.
Okay.
The feeling of insecurity is gone, and I'm confident with when I'm interacting with all the staffs, and also when I'm working.
Okay, so that's a good example. Like you can increase your emotional intelligence, or emotional intelligence grows in a
Mm,
person, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, again, like sometimes you may feel the similar emotion coming back to you. Okay,
Mm,
so let's say you have to deal with somebody very important uh, going forward. Okay, you may
yeah.
feel that coming back to you, but again, that's natural. Okay, all right, you learn from that as well, right?
Yeah, there's always this nervousness, but then, okay, you can do it, and then yeah, I go forward and I can do it actually.
Okay, but looking back, like you feel like you have grown as a person, right?
I have become more mature, and I am not that stupid as I was back then.
Okay. All right. So that's your self-reflection. All right. Okay. So let's go back to the class slide. Okay. So why emotional intelligence is important? Okay. So why are you studying emotional intelligence here? You are like, all of you are like IT major here, either ethical hacking or computing. So why should you be concerned or interested in emotional intelligence? Okay. So here are like a few, like 4 examples that I put together. Okay. And you can find these in online as well. Okay. There are like many more examples. Okay. But these are the 4 that I found online. Right. So according to Daniel Goleman, who actually coined the term emotional intelligence. Okay. And also for those of you who checked their LMS recently, I put a link for a book by Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence. So if you're interested in it, like if you're interested in learning more about emotional intelligence, then I would highly recommend that you read that book. It's in PDF format. Okay. It's free for you guys. Right.
Yes,
Okay. So according to Daniel Goleman, okay, up to 90% of the difference between like a great leader, okay, a good leader and average leaders or average boss, okay, can be attributed to emotional intelligence. Okay. So traditionally, when we think about a leader or a boss, okay, so what picture comes to your mind? Maybe you can, Priyanka, you can answer.
What was the question again?
So when you think about a boss, okay, traditionally
Yeah.
speaking, what
Yeah.
comes to your mind? Like what kind of like characteristics or traits come to your mind?
Basically, when I'm in front of encounter my boss, I'll be like, okay, so I gotta do well. I should keep a good impression in front of him. I cannot ruin this. I gotta do it somehow. Anyhow, I have to do. I have to do good at this. That's
Okay,
the only thing
so
that comes.
so instead of like saying I, like when you are looking at like a traditional boss, okay, what
Yeah, yeah.
features comes to your mind? What are the behaviors that would be exuded from a traditional leader?
So you want me to just say that what I feel about my
No, no,
about
no, no,
traditional boss,
not your current boss. I mean, like when
like yeah,
you
basically generally.
yeah, traditional boss. I mean, bossy boss, you know, like,
Uh, okay, so first thing is okay, he's gonna say something again,
okay.
he or she, and then he's gonna put on more work on me. And have I done something wrong? Is he coming here to complain about that or something?
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's more like kind of looking down upon, like very bossy,
yeah,
these features, right? Commanding,
yeah,
demeaning even, right? Okay.
yeah.
So those leaders who are good or who have high emotional intelligence, they are more like a sharing, okay, understanding like that. So that's what makes a difference between a good leader and average leader, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Because
basically the
yes.
natural leader are like a guardian, and the traditional boss are bossy.
Yes, exactly. They are more able to empathize or have empathy on whoever's are working below them. Okay, so let's say you're working for a leader or a boss who is more emotionally mature. Then, if you're having a bad day, then that leader would be able to kind of like empathize with you, right? Treat you like a person. I mean, right? Okay. Uh, Another example here. Okay, a study was done on the 44 Fortune 500 companies. So these are big multinational companies. Okay, and they found that the difference between like the average salespeople, okay, and the good salespeople who actually were able to generate twice the revenue. Okay, it has to do with their level of emotional intelligence. Okay, so salespeople with high emotional intelligence, they were able to connect with other people and therefore generate higher revenue for the company. Okay, that research was done by Hay Group, right? Okay, another example here. Okay, so a study was done by Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Okay, they did research in different schools. Okay, and it was found that for those schools where emotional intelligence is taught to the students, okay, the level of bullying, okay, it went down. Okay, so I assume you guys know what bullying is, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it was actually found that for those kids or students to whom emotional intelligence were taught, okay, they were aware of it, that they could, I guess, like treat other students or their friends, especially those who may be kind of inferior, like weak and as themselves. Okay, so another example here. Okay, so according to the research, it was like a 40-year research actually done by the Berkeley of the PhD graduates, I guess. Okay, so EQ is 400% more powerful than IQ when predicting who would succeed in their field. Okay, so IQ, I mean, person may be intelligent, let's say a software engineer, okay, maybe very, very good with coding and all that, okay, but who would be the boss, who would be the manager for those software engineers? Okay, certainly somebody who is more emotionally intelligent, right? Though that boss may not know a lot about coding, but he or she would be actually, managing the people with higher IQ. You get the picture? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the difference between EQ or EI. It's kind of like EI and EQ. They both are same. Okay, so if you see like EI and somewhere EQ, they both mean emotional intelligence. Okay.
Same, sir. Could you repeat that?
Okay, sometimes emotional intelligence is like abbreviated as EI. Sometimes it is abbreviated as EQ. They both mean the same. So don't be confused if you see EQ somewhere and EI somewhere. So especially when you're comparing with IQ, intelligent quotient, then we use the term EQ, okay? But EI and EQ, they both mean the same. Right? Okay, so these are few examples, very few examples. Again, if you go online and try to research about emotional intelligence, you will find many studies done about emotional intelligence and why it is important. Okay? Everybody on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes, sir.
any question?
No.
No, sir.
All right, so
No,
let's move
sir.
forward. Okay, so I assume that you guys are already familiar with the slide. Okay, this has been taken from your lecture slide. Okay, the emotional intelligence, it's like over here, it's broken down into 4 quadrants. Okay, so in the first, let's move horizontally speaking. Okay, so the upper half, it has to do with your personal competence. Okay, so that means, are you able to recognize emotions going within you? Okay, are you able to feel and recognize emotions within you? Okay, another thing is your social competence or social awareness. Okay, are you able to recognize maybe emotions of other people, what other people may be going through or feeling? Okay, this has to do with facial recognition, like a facial feature, like being able to recognize different emotions based on facial expressions. Right now, going from like dividing this the 4 quadrant vertically now. Okay, on the first left-hand side, from me, left-hand side, it has to do with what you see or what you feel. Okay, and on the right-hand side, what you can do. Okay, so if you're able to feel or experience, feel the emotions that's going within you, it could be like good feelings, good emotions, bad emotions, then you may be able to manage your emotions, right? And also with regard to social awareness, if you're able to feel, maybe empathize with other people, what other people may be feeling, that might help you in improving your relationship with other people, relationship management. All right? So again, at the end of the day, everything is happening within you. It's just that the source in the first aspect, when it comes to personal awareness or self-awareness, the source is within you. Okay. Now, when it comes to social awareness, the stimulus or the source comes from outside when you deal with other people. Okay. But ultimately, these all 4 things, they contribute to your emotional intelligence. Right? Any feedback? Anyone has any question?
So how does self-management improve our EI?
So if you are able to recognize or feel the emotion that's going within you, then you're able to manage your emotions. right? So that's one aspect of emotional intelligence. Okay, versus someone, let's say, who is not able to manage their emotion. Like, I think let's take an example of anger. Okay, so we all feel anger, right? But some people with the higher emotional intelligence, they may be able to manage the anger, okay, rather than letting the anger control you. Okay, if you control the anger, okay, and not let it out into some destructive way, so would that be beneficial to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Forgetting I forgetting I.
Okay, don't mute me, okay, because others will not hear me. All right. Okay. So I just few students, maybe like one or two, take turn in responding back. I don't want like a one particular student to answer all the time, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, you all, we have like many students in this call, so take
Okay, sir.
turn.
You can
All right,
answer
so was that clear? Like again, these all are components of your emotional intelligence, okay, and they all help you improve in like improving your emotional intelligence. It's not like uh, the student who asked the question earlier. So maybe when you ask a question, state your name and then ask a question. Okay, that would be clear to me who asked the question.
So
Right?
I asked you the last question.
Okay, so what's your name?
Ashish Acharya.
Okay, thank you. So I assume, are you good with that question, with the answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So anybody else has any question?
No, sir.
All right, so let's move forward. Okay, so this is an iceberg. Okay, this slide kind of gives you a picture about the importance of emotional intelligence. Okay, so only a fraction, maybe like a fraction of the success of a person would be attributed to intelligent quotients. Okay, a huge portion of a person's success could be attributed to emotional intelligence. That means being good with other people, okay, and not only with other people, but with yourself as well, your self improvement, self management, and so on, right? Okay. Okay, so let's look at few benefits of emotional intelligence. Okay, so the first benefit over here that I have compiled, it gives you a better picture of yourself. Okay, so emotionally speaking, I mean, not physically speaking, emotionally speaking. So if you have a higher emotional intelligence, that means you have a better picture of yourself. Okay, that you are able to manage your emotions. All right. So many people they get carried away by emotions, strong emotions, because they let those emotions basically they let their ego react to those emotions. All right. So ego can be said as your false self, your pseudo self. Okay. So you are someone, you are a person. Then you have this that image like a software within you, which is your ego. All right. And that ego likes to react to everything. Right. So if you are someone who is low in emotional intelligence, then your ego reacts to everything. Then you don't have a good picture of the world around you or even yourself. Okay. Versus someone who is good in emotional intelligence, that person has good picture of himself or herself. Another benefit would be positive energy to get things done. So we mentioned about one aspect of emotional intelligence, which is the motivation, self-motivation, right? We had a slide earlier. Okay, so are you self-motivated? Okay, so if you are someone with good self-motivation, okay, then you would have positive energy to get things done. Okay, then versus someone with low emotional intelligence, they would be discouraged under setbacks. Okay, so if with people who have higher level of emotional intelligence, they have more resilience, if even in like a difficult or tough times. That's another example. Okay, or benefit of emotional intelligence. Another cooperation or collaboration. Okay, if you are good with emotional intelligence, if you have high emotional intelligence, then you're good with other people. Okay, there are people who get along with other people very easily. Okay, even people they have never met. If they meet other people, then they can make their friends very easily, or they could build that rapport, that connection, very easily. If you're someone like that, then you can get things done. Right? So that's another benefit of having a higher emotional intelligence. Again, resilience, another example, another benefit here, resilience through tough times. So you don't let tough times get you, but you go through any tough times. Okay. So if you face any failure, no matter how many times, you get up and you go forward. Okay. So people with higher emotional intelligence, they are able to do that. Okay. Versus like low emotional intelligence people, okay, they may not be able to go forward in difficult times. All right. Again, another benefit is better relationships. Again, like if you're able to go along with other people, you will have more people. Okay. So in your class, like how many students are in your class? Like one person.
34.
33.
Okay.
34, 34.
Okay. Regardless. Okay. So when you look at all of the students, okay, so there may be few students who are very good at making friends. Like they may have like a whole class as friends already. Okay. Versus there may be a few students who don't really talk with other people. They kind of like keep things to themselves. Okay. So when you compare emotional intelligence, so which students would be better with having like maybe like a good friends when they need something? Who would be kind of like who would know where to get things, right?
The first one.
No, sir.
Right. Who is able to maybe talk with other people, get along with other people, right? Say hi, hello to other people. That person would be able
Both,
to.
I think.
What was that?
Sarath, bro.
Okay.
Me also. Yeah.
That's fine. If you are that person, then that's an indication that you have a good or high emotional intelligence. Right? Again, it's not that if let's say you right now, if you're thinking about yourself and feel like, okay, I'm not really good with making friends like that. Again, as we went through before, emotional intelligence can be nurtured, can be learned, can be grown, right? So you can make some conscious effort now, like maybe like when you meet someone, talk to that person, like maybe say, how's his or her day going, right? So start from the maybe like a in a basic, and learn to build relationship with other people, right? So these are things that can be improved. Any question?
No, sir.
All right.
No.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so there's another slide here. All of you can maybe read it.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I would like to ask you a question. I'm Utsav
sure.
Aryal. So, what about you talked about the benefits of emotional intelligence, but what about creativity and innovation that comes with the higher emotional intelligence? Those people might have lower creativity or innovation, right?
We're not really dealing with creativity part here. We're more dealing with emotions, right?
Yeah.
That could be another aspect, another intelligence, let's say. Okay, there are a number of intelligences besides, like you guys have heard about emotional intelligence. Creativity is another aspect now. Okay.
Okay.
So in this course, we are more interested in emotional intelligence or anything that has to do with emotions, emotional aspects of yourself.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so here's one slide that kind of shows the importance of emotional intelligence. Okay, So maybe one who has not really responded back. Maybe that student can read that for the whole class, for this whole session. Students in the session.
Sehan.
Yes, anyone who has not spoken to me yet.
Sehan.
All right, Sihan. All right, it's kind of quiet. Like unmute the mic first, then start reading. I wanted to make it a little more interactive this time. Okay, that's why I'm asking you guys these questions. Okay, anyone
Can I read?
can? Yeah, sure. Please.
Emotional intelligence. Anyone can become angry, that's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for that right purpose, and in right way, that is not easy.
So you get the idea, right? We all get angry at some point in our life, right? Even like today, if you like consciously observe yourself today, you may feel angry for any reason, okay? But to be able to be angry with all these attributes, that is not easy, right? So maybe like a person who is high in
Yes, sir.
emotional intelligence would be able to do this one rather than like expressing anger. Be able to do this thing as mentioned in this slide, right? There's a lot of word that's right. So many repetition of this word right. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so these are some of the practices for when dealing with negative emotions. Okay, so examples of negative emotions are here: fear, anger, jealousy, sadness, apathy, guilt, disgust, shame. So any of these not clear to anyone? So these are some of the negative emotions.
The apathy one.
Apathy,
Yeah.
it's
Same here.
indifference. Okay, so let's say somebody is feeling bad or somebody's suffering. Okay, so let's say you walk down a road and there is a beggar there or someone who is like in a bad shape. Okay, so if you're not able to feel like sympathy for that person, any like a feeling, then you would be termed as apathetic or with apathy. Okay, so you're unable to feel like sympathy for others suffering. That's apathy. Okay.
Excuse me,
So,
sir.
Yes.
Do you mean opposite of empathy?
Now empathy, yeah,
Yeah, that's my question. Yes, sir.
yeah, empathy would be kind of like it encompasses other emotions as well. Okay, so if you're feeling happy, if I'm empathetic, then I would kind of feel happy as well. So that's empathy, right?
Lack of interest is also apathy, right?
Exactly. That's right. Yep.
Or concern or interest
Exactly.
in anything.
That's good. All right. So if you're feeling these negative emotions, so these are some of the things that these are the don'ts now. Okay. So there's like do's as well. So these are don'ts. Okay. So here are a few things that you should not be doing. Okay. The first thing that you should not be doing is do not try to avoid or shut the sensation. All right. So let's say you're feeling sad. Okay. So don't try to shut yourself or your mind from the sensation of sadness. It's like avoiding, trying to avoid. Just because you avoid doesn't mean that emotion or that sensation will go away. You get the idea? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so don't do that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Another thing that you should not be doing is do not let the emotion, that negative emotion, carry you away. Okay. So again, anger. I'll let the anger as an example. Okay. So if you let anger let you be carried away, then that can cause you or other people harm, right? And later on, you may feel like a shame or you may feel regret for doing something that otherwise you would not have done, right? So don't let yourself be carried away by emotions, right? Okay, and also another thing is do not try to justify. Oftentimes when we do something wrong or something bad happens, when we do something wrong, we try to justify, okay? Right? So can someone maybe give an example of that? Last time when something bad happened and you try to justify, or somebody else did something wrong and that person tried to justify instead of taking accountability or responsibility. Anyone? Now again, like we're not judging here, okay? So just because somebody says something, please do not judge other person, okay? Because that would be wrong, okay? We are trying to create an environment here where students feel comfortable in sharing what they have to share. All right?
So what if we get into a fight and we have to justify the police?
Now you're trying to justify to yourself, not to the police at this time, right? No, that's okay. That's a good question. So let's say you broke something, okay? You see a little, like a small kid. That small kid tries to justify, like he or she like broke something, a toy maybe, okay? Then he would like that child would like maybe shift the blame to another kid, like his or her friend, or say something that is like totally outrageous, okay, unbelievable, right? Have you maybe like seen that, or you get the idea, right? Okay, it's always easy, or the best thing to do would be take the responsibility. The adult thing or the emotionally mature thing would be to take the responsibility, rather than trying to justify for something that's something that happened, right? Okay, so don't try to justify. That's another thing. Another thing would be do not let your ego or your pride react. Oftentimes when we let our ego react, okay, then oftentimes, majority of times, we end up doing something that we should not be doing, okay? So let's say one of your friends said something hurtful to you, okay? So it's actually your pride that got hurt, right? And you react to that saying something even more demeaning to your friend, okay? And you saw your friendship crumble. You basically broke your friendship, right? So do not let your ego or your pride react to negative emotions. All right. So what happens if somebody comes yelling at you in anger? If you yourself get carried away by the anger emotion, so what's the result? It could be fight, right? Something wrong, something negative would happen. You get the idea?
Yes, sir.
All right. These are again the basic things. I assume like all of you already know it.
So I wanted to ask one question.
Yeah, go on.
So like, what if I find myself always in the wrong place? Like I always feel all of this.
Okay, these are the don'ts. So that means you should not be doing it. Now, in another slide, later on, we'll look at what you should be doing. Maybe that will clarify it about what you should be doing. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe you can have some patience, develop some patience, and not be carried away or not react to negative emotions. Okay. Again, these are something that you can learn, right? So instead of like before, if you are of a habit of saying something right away or reacting to somebody, okay, maybe now you can maybe you can hold those negative emotions to yourself, for like not react to it right away.
Just the part
it's something that you can
do
learn.
not get carried away.
Exactly. You can maybe like learn. Initially, it may be very difficult to you. Okay, you feel this strong urge within yourself to react to it, to say something back. Okay, but again, later on, if you do it like multiple times, you may feel easier as you go on.
Sure.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing is do not try to blame. Again, it goes on with do not try to justify. Okay. So again, blaming is very easy. Okay, because your ego or your pride doesn't like to take the responsibility of something that is wrong or something that is not good. right? But that is not something that you should be doing. Do not try to blame others, right? Often these things, complaining, blaming, these are the traits of your ego. All right. So if you don't do that, if you try to maybe restrain yourself, control yourself in not blaming, not justifying, then you'll become better in terms of emotional intelligence. Right. So again, these are the things that separate a person who is like high in emotional intelligence versus somebody who is low in emotional intelligence. Right. And these are something that you can learn. It was Priyanka, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you get the idea now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at something that you should be doing now. Now, these are don'ts, so let's look at do's. Okay, so again, if you feel an emotion, if you feel something, acknowledge it. Like, let's say you're feeling sad. Okay, maybe you can internally say to yourself that I'm feeling sad. Okay, rather than running away from it, or rather than trying to shut yourself or avoid it, acknowledge your emotion. Acknowledging gives you an opportunity to actually, to, let's say you're feeling sad, okay? To acknowledge it, you may get over it, right? It gives you an opportunity to get over your negative emotions, right? Okay, another thing that you can do is feel the emotion. Okay, when you actively feel something, it's like a universal rule. Okay, when you actively feel, when you consciously feel an emotion, the strength of that emotion actually decreases. Right? So maybe you can try this next time when you're feeling, let's say, anger. Okay, rather than acting on it or rather than avoiding it, okay, feel it, feel that anger within you, okay, and like feel how it like loses its power. Okay, so
But
anyone
someone said,
yes,
someone said to me that if I want to not to be angry, then I have to delay it for sometimes. Is it true?
uh now again, like delaying, again, it's there. Okay, maybe like you would like you would not like pay your attention to it for a while. Okay, but that thing is there. At some point you would have to deal with it. Okay, it's only delaying, as you said. Okay, but eventually you'll have to accept it, that it's there. Right? How long can you go on by avoiding or shutting that negative emotion? Like some people, like they use like let's say alcohol, they use drugs to get away from something that they don't want to feel, right? But eventually they'll have to accept it, right? So if maybe like if you have some like a creative way of dealing with like these negative emotions, then that will be okay. Rather than like if you are like, let's say, rather than like reacting to someone or reacting to these emotions on someone, it's a far let better. It's far better to hold on to it until you can safely deal with it, right? Maybe that's what that person meant.
So then, can appreciation control emotions? Like if we appreciate someone trying to help us, will that help?
Sure, but don't let that appreciation get over your pride, right? Don't let that ego take the credit for that appreciation. Okay, but otherwise you'll be kind of you'll that your ego will hunger for more appreciation, right? Is that clear or?
So
Okay.
like,
Yes.
I still didn't get that part. Like, if one appreciates whatever thrown at him or her, could that person be able to manipulate his emotional unwell?
The other person or
Other person, as in me myself. Like, will I be able to do that?
manipulate? I'm not really clear with your question right now. Can you maybe rephrase it?
So like if suppose I am not feeling that good, and then somebody appreciates my effort, will I be able to uh, like feel good or something like that? Like I can't just explain it. Oh my god, just a second. So like if somebody like I'm going through a very bad time, but somebody appreciates my effort, then will I be able to manipulate my emotions due to that appreciation?
So manipulation is kind of like it gives a negative connotation, right? When you say manipulate. So if somebody praises you or gives you like the compliment, okay, you feel good, that's fine. But don't put yourself on a pedestal, okay? Otherwise you will hunger for that emotion again. That's what I mean. Okay? Feeling happy, feeling gratified under compliment or praise, that's natural, that's fine.
Okay.
Right? Again, like rather than avoiding it, feel it. Okay? Because feeling emotion actually opens a door to maybe like get over it. That's what this, when we're talking about feeling emotion, that's what it means here. Okay? Because until you deal with an emotion, it doesn't really go away. It will be there in your subconscious mind. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So another thing that you can do is maybe ask why. Okay? So if you're feeling something, ask why are you feeling that emotion. Okay? Maybe next time you can like prepare yourself or change your situation maybe. Okay? So if somebody is, if you're feeling bad because of maybe like a person in your life, okay? So maybe you can separate yourself from that person to feel better or not to feel bad anymore. Okay, it could be a solution. That's an example, although, right? So ask why. That can also help. All right. I mean, like try to go deeper into why are you feeling something if you're not clear about it. If you don't have a clear picture about some emotions, right? It could be sadness, it could be anger, it could be fear. Fear is a very common emotion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving forward, okay? Like, again, these are do's. Try to separate your emotion from situation and person, okay? If you can't, then you'll be reacting to the person, okay? So if you are someone who is able to separate emotion from situation or person, even if somebody like says something wrong to you or demeaning to you, you are able to have a conversation with that person and sort things out. Versus if a person is very low in emotional intelligence, that person would say something back or do something and basically create a worse situation than it was initially, right? So try to separate emotion from situations. All right. So I assume like you have in life, we meet people like in terms of like our interaction with other people. There comes this situation where where with some people we may not even be able to even, let's say, face that person or talk to that person because we feel this strong emotion carry us, right? Let's say you're angry with someone, right? You're not able to separate the anger with the person, like from the person. And that's why you're not able to even have any interaction, meaningful interaction with the other people, because that anger takes over you. Right? Anyone? Is that like, I assume like some of you like for all of you, I think this is a good example. Okay, not being able to separate emotion from people kind of like blocks our way in having any interaction with that person. Okay, because you may disagree with the other person, but at least you can maybe like maybe like talk with other person, right? So you guys can maybe like agree to disagree. Yes.
Yes, sir. You're right.
Anybody else? All right. Okay, next thing that you can do is think about something that's logical or right thing to do. Okay? Rather than, again, being carried away by these negative emotions, if you could think something that is right, okay, it could be maybe apologizing to someone, okay? So think about something that is right thing to do or logical thing to do, rather than try like blaming other people or justifying other people. These things would be recommended or would be the right thing to do, or a good emotional awareness practice. Any question, by the way?
Sir, could you please look at the conversation side as well?
Conversation slide. Hold on.
Conversations, yeah.
Okay, let me see.
So Omar is asking question.
Okay, because I'm sharing the screen, right? So I'm not. Hold on. Okay, hold on, okay? So okay, let me see if I can see the conversation.